A show we've kind of neglected, but has been a winner every year we've been doing this pod, and just keeps getting better. Better Call Saul. And I actually, when I moved, I wasn't like super excited about getting cable, but just based on the way the cable down here works, they were like, you can pay for internet or you can pay for cable and internet for the same price. And I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Do you have a phone as well?
No phone. I didn't commit to the phone, but I was like, all right. And then one of the benefits has been all these shows that I had to wait to come out on, streaming service in some way. I'm not able to stay on top of, and I am so excited about that because Better Call Saul season 3 blew me away, but now we're on season 4, and I am so pumped. And this first episode was also started off great. Let's talk a little bit about season 3 though, because we didn't really review it last year. What were your impressions of that, or what stood out to you?
Yeah, I had it in my top 10 last year, but again, we didn't talk about it too deeply because you were behind on it. I thought the show just continues to get stronger, and it's incredibly impressive, which is on a meta level really awesome to see, because a lot of people doubted the show for even existing as a prequel to, one of the golden age dramas, Breaking Bad, right? So the fact that it's been able to get so much better and achieve greatness on its own is a testament itself. But season to season, it's continuing to improve as well. And, I think last season, just the way everything happened between Jimmy and Chuck, really coming to a head in the chicanery episode. It's just master class of writing. Vince Gilligan and Peter Gold are just, world class, obviously. And that's despite the fact that there's not hard action in this. Breaking Bad actually had a fair amount of action from time to time, right? But even Better Call Saul is more reserved and more strategic in its plotting. It's a lot of acting with faces and a lack of action being by design. So I think just as the shows continue to grow, the scripts get better, and everything just flows in an amazing way. You just have to have a certain level of patience to watch a show that's about the details. It doesn't necessarily hold your hand. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the show, and I like the premiere for season 4.
Yeah, season 3, I think, you mentioned chicanery, which was, I think, obviously the highlight, probably the best episode the show's ever done. And the way Michael McKean falls apart at the end is give him the Emmy for that scene alone. But like you said, the details, there will be times when I will, I'll check my phone while something's going on with Mike Ehrmantraut. And then I'll come back. I'll be like, fuck, I have to rewind because I know I missed something little there that's actually going to make a difference to what's going on in the story. And it's so masterfully crafted in the way that they interweave all the stories, because you basically have 3 stories going on. You have, Mike Ehrmantraut and kind of how he's getting involved now with the Mexican cartels. You have Hector versus Gus and Nacho and what's going on with him within Hector's squad. And then you obviously have Jimmy versus Chuck. And now this season, I think it's going to be a little bit more of Jimmy turning into Saul Goodman. It looks like, and we'll talk about that in a second. But the way that they seamlessly go between those and have little through lines and change it up between the Nacho story kind of being the C or the D story for an episode, but still being some of the most intriguing stuff. Just amazing. And probably the person that gets the least shine, but shouldn't, is Ray Seahorn, who plays Kim. Rhea Seehorn plays Kim.
She's great.
Dude, she is fantastic. And she plays Kim so perfectly and brings so much heart to the show. Jimmy, I think, is the heart because he's really this decent guy who just can't stop doing shitty things to try to get ahead. But he's decent until the end. He throws his business away to get Irene standing back with her friends in the nursing home. He's a good guy, but Kim is just she's the heart that makes this show beat. And I'm really interested to see how things devolve with her and Jimmy moving forward, because I feel like that's going to be the emotional climax of season 4.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny, leading up to this, all the press Vince Gilligan and Bob Odenkirk and all of them have done, they're like, yeah, we're at the door of Breaking Bad. We're close. And, judging off the events of the finale and this new premiere, Hector's going to get in the wheelchair, we assume, from that stroke, right? And Jimmy emotionally might be taking a turn. Obviously, he was very cold to Howard at the end of the premiere with the I guess that's your cross the bear mark when he
Yep.
goes whistling in the kitchen. It was a nice callback to when Walt was really nonchalant after Todd shoots that little kid at the train, right?
Mhm.
And I think we might be seeing a shift for him, and uh, you know, I think that's something that people have always kind of been like, oh, like, is it going to get there? Is it going to take its sweet ass time? Blah blah blah, right? And the show has already been renewed for a fifth season, which sometimes can be a bad thing if we're coming to the end. But I think I trust Vince Gilligan and Peter Gold to have a plan in place for this,
Mhm.
and I think everything's just it's just so interesting watching the characters be the characters because they grow and evolve so much
Mhm.
that it's tough. Like, can I really predict what's going to happen this season? Really, no. I mean, maybe does he become Saul straight up this season? Yeah, I guess, but I don't have much else to predict. But like we got the Lydia name drop. Mike is in that company now. That was a big part of Breaking Bad, right? So
Mhm.
we're getting there. So I'm intrigued to see how it works.
Well, and I think the other intriguing thing about this show, and this is something that the writers have talked about, is that Saul, Walter White dies, and that story is over. Then Saul doesn't die at the end of Breaking Bad,
No.
but and assuming what we see from his time in Cinnabon is, I think his name is Gene at Cinnabon. Um, there could very well be part of a season, or maybe even a whole season dedicated to that and what's going
Yeah.
on with him as a way to close out his story. Gilligan said that time is essential to understanding his arc and how his story finishes. So season 5 might not be the last one, although it would be interesting to have Breaking Bad be 5 seasons, then the prelude to it be 6 seasons. But still, I mean, the other thing I think is really interesting is Odenkirk. I don't think anyone ever thought he had chops like this. And he's obviously been a rising star since Breaking Bad, and he does a lot of voice work, and he's in the Post last year, and has gotten more dramatic roles. But like his performance in, I think it was called Smoke, this last episode, it's that's those are the type of moments. Seeing just the way he subtly plays, the turmoil that's going on behind Saul with his brother's death, and making sense of his role in it is really impressive. And I just think this show probably can't be any better than it is, but they kind of keep pushing it forward. So I wouldn't be surprised by anything.
Yeah. On that note, I mean, they take their time with all the subtleties, right? Like Nacho, when they show us Hector going in the ambulance, and all we get is Gus giving Nacho a little side eye to show that he's suspicious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't see him in the wheelchair. We don't get that obvious conclusion right away. We see Nacho agonizing over how to dispose of the pills, and like that's like there's a lot of time dedicated to that, something that's relatively inconsequential,
Mm-hmm.
but just it's just the way the show is plotted, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's human. It's just, I mean, I guess my last question for you, and maybe you have some other things you want to talk about here. Muhammad Ali versus Bruce Lee, who you got?
I also had that written down.
Yeah.
So I'm not like super well versed in Bruce Lee's real abilities. I know like some like MMA heads are like he wasn't a real fighter; he was more showy. So like I don't actually know like what the right side of history is on Bruce Lee's real abilities,
Mm-hmm.
but I do stand by the fact that I'd take an MMA fighter over a boxer in
Yep.
a real life fight. So assuming they're both in their primes and Bruce Lee was the real deal, I'd go with him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Give us the McGregor versus Mayweather fight in the octagon. I want to see it. Any last thoughts on Saul?
I think one of my favorite things about Saul is that every time it comes back, I watch Breaking Bad clips on YouTube for like an hour and a half, just like remembering stuff. Whether it's me like remembering like what happened with Tuco again, like how did Tuco really impact everything, or just watching like the great stuff like Ozymandias or whatnot. And it's just like Vince Gilligan is kind of underappreciated somehow. He's quietly just cranking out Better Call Saul, and it's fucking superb. And
Yeah,
it's almost like it's not like flashy or showy to talk about it or sing its praises. So here we are.
Yeah, Gilligan is incredible, man. I mean, it's in a lot of ways I see like him and David Simon similarly, where they build these worlds so thoroughly and they pay so much attention to detail and just making all their characters seem so human in different ways. Like apparently Howard was supposed to be like the main antagonist throughout the series, and then they kind of figured like, oh, Chuck fucking Jimmy over would be way better, and then letting Howard become humanized would make a more complicated story. And I was like, oh, that's such a smart way to not only build a story but to also look at humanity and how things actually affect people. I mean, can't say enough good things about him. And then, I mean, this will probably be the last big show that we have right now for this year. I mean, what, Maisel comes out end of the year.
I mean, not dated as marvelous as Maisel, but we have the Deuce coming back.
Right.
David Simon, Speak of the Devil.
Maniac.
Yep. Maniac, the Jonah Hill, Emma Stone reunion on Netflix from Cary Fukunawa is coming. Homecoming, Julia Roberts' first TV show on Amazon is in November. There's some interesting stuff. We assume Mr. Robot will still be back this fall. Let's see. There's a few other things. So, I mean, that's crazy because like we have Better Call Saul. We already had Atlanta and Killing Eve and Succession and Barry and Glow. Right. Had a great year, in my opinion. And the role in the fucking Matthew Weiner's follow up to Mad Men, The Romanoffs, comes out in October on Amazon. So
a lot of good new shows.
Mindhunter probably be back as well. The Crown will be back. So yeah, it's going to be a nice fall.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about because I think 2016 when we were starting the pod, it was like a big time of transition. You had things like Breaking Bad stopping, but Saul starting up. And now it feels like there's a big wave of really good new shows on the horizons. I mean, Succession and Barry are probably the two most known ones right now, but you just mentioned a handful of shows that could all be in the consideration for best show of the year by the end of this year. And you have shows like, we said Saul probably is getting down to, after the season, probably one or two more. You have Mr. Robot, which I can't see really going past a fifth season. So in the next couple of years, there's going to be a new guard. It's really, I mean, TV might not be peak TV anymore. You don't have the Mad Men, the Breaking Bad, those sort of shows right now, but you just have so much quality everywhere, and it's going to make these streaming wars even more interesting as they move forward.
It is interesting though that there's no Wire, there's no Breaking Bad, there's no Mad Men, but we do have the follow-ups from all those creators and Saul, Romanoffs, and The Deuce. So yeah, that's something, right? And the Deadwood movie's coming back,
Yeah, I feel like I watched the first season of Deadwood and then I didn't follow up with the second season, but probably should get to that before that movie comes out. There's so much TV to watch though, dude. I mean, like we didn't even talk about The Americans yet, just because we haven't had time to catch up.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. So yeah, a lot of stuff to be looking forward to. Stay subscribed to Nowstalgia Pod.